My name is Brenda and I'm from pitchIN. So welcome to our Get to Know the Founders session, where we would like you, the investor, to know more about our issuers and their stories. So we will spend about 10 minutes talking to the founders of these companies, and we will be asking them about 8 to 10 questions about themselves and the company. After that, we will wrap up the session with a set of rapid fire questions, where we'll be asking them to choose one or the other. So today we are sitting down with Giva to know more about GK Aqua, a business formed to commercialize and implement its cutting-edge technology to improve freshwater prawn farming efficiency. They aim to raise 8 million ringgit on pitchIN with this campaign. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce Giva to everybody. Hi Giva.
Hi Brenda, how are you?
Good. Let's just start with a very quick introduction of yourself.
My name is Giva Kupusami. I'm the founder and CEO of GK Aqua. We formed GK Aqua in 2017 to solve an important and pressing issues in Malaysia pertaining seafood involving udang galah, and that's what we have done. A lot of R&D to commercialize the product in a very sustainable farming system.
Wow, that is beautifully summed up. All right, so let's just go straight to the questions. So what's the story behind GK Aqua? Why did you start it?
All right, the story started during my graduate school in 2008. And I came across udang galah as part of my research. And knowing the history and learning the history, the technology started in 1960 here in Malaysia. Technology to breed them in captive was found by Malaysian scientists in 1960, and that inspired myself because the FOA themselves accredited the name for udang galah as Malaysian giant river prawn. Fast forward 60 years, we are merely producing 300 to 400 metric ton, when our local demand itself is about 3,000 metric ton and global industry of $7 billion. So we should be at the forefront to export, but we are importing 90% of what we consume. I challenge myself, can we improve the farming efficiency? What went wrong? And how can we further improve? And of course, the answer solely lies in technology, and that's where the intervention came into place. And we picked up quite a lot of biotechnological method to improve the farming efficiency and increase the profitability of the farmers without diminishing the environmental sustainability.
More about your history, right? What were you doing before starting GK Aqua?
Once I graduated, I was both in industry and research. My last job was as a senior manager in a multinational company called Crop for Future, also researching on sustainable aquaculture feed for aquaculture. As you were rightly pointing out, we are so close to water. Our seafood capital per consumption is like one of the top 10 in the world, but we import almost 60 billion ringgit worth of agriculture product into Malaysia. I think that's where is the next inline agri-tech future, because we are importing 60 billion ringgit worth of food. That means we have a market for 60 billion ringgit food industry. So we come from a very small, tiny dot in a bigger portion of the parcel. I think that's where the future for GK as the pioneer in freshwater aquaculture. And if people ask me what's next after udang galah, of course, there's so many beautiful and taste-wise, empurau, ikan kelah, there's so many you can add on to the list, which requires in implementation in terms of technology, disruptive innovations like what we exactly done with udang galah. And I believe this is the pipeline we are trying to benchmark against. And once this is successful and replicable, I think the same pipeline could be extrapolated for other species as well.
What would you say is a typical day for you at GK Aqua?
Typical day, I wake up in the morning, I meditate, and then I go for a run. In between the run, I meditate, and then I list down what I need to do for the day, list down all the daily tasks. I go for a run, and then while running, there's a lot of ideas will come to the mind. And after that, I get to office and I start talking, and that never stops, like today.
Wow.
I've been talking since 5 a.m. today, Dubai time. First started with Harvey. with a group of investors, and that never stops until now.
That's great. That's great. Oh my goodness. Okay, so
Thanks.
what would you say is one of the most gratifying things about running a business like GK Aqua in this agri-tech industry?
From a very entrepreneurial background, from two-person run company like myself and my missus, and we have grown to 20 staff members now. And the biggest gratitude I have is we create the employment opportunity. So that's number one, happiness or peace of mind I get when I go to bed, that we are actually hiring people in this pandemic, whereas everybody else is letting go people. That's something which we can contribute to the society. And secondly is food on the table. You enjoy a good quality seafood, and as you know, GK is selling the prawns live at your doorstep. So people get to consume good quality seafood. So that's number two. And number three is farmers' profitability comes to also a big happiness for us, because with our technology, we enable increased yield almost 400 to 500% for the farmers. And that's actually elevate their social income and empower the young generation, especially entrepreneurs. They have graduated in agriculture, and in being Malaysia, they don't have much opportunities to work with MNCs, because most of the agriculture farms are still like, family-run businesses, backyard. So I think this will open up a lot of opportunities, even in whether they are hired by us or an entrepreneurship, because whether this is COVID or pandemic, people still need to eat. Food on the table matters. You can avoid not buying the car, can avoid not buying the house, but you cannot avoid not eating, right? At least two meals a day is important. So looking at all these various contributions we make, in a very small way, I believe, and that's really gratifying for us in a bigger way. I think that gives us a lot of joy and happiness to cherish the moments. And my partner Steven always tell us we have to enjoy the journey.
What are some of the challenges that keep you awake at night?
The same. So when you have 20 people, end of the month, you have to pay them. You have to keep the lights on. So always funding for any startups, funding is always in a critical situation, because when it comes to agri-tech, the investors are slightly hesitant, because they will say, oh, your prawns are deemed to have a high risk, this risk, that risk. It's all calculated risk, I would say. I'm not being arrogant saying that investing in agriculture or agri-tech, there's no risk. Every business has a risk. This is where we are working hard to bring in technologies into place so that we can mitigate those risks. Capital being the biggest challenge running a business, and growing the team. Secondly is human capital, because you have to train the talents. And with graduates nowadays, it's challenging because everybody wants to work in office Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. But in agriculture, they get once a week day off. They don't know which day will be that. It could be this week Monday, the following week Tuesday. At least in our organization, we try to be fair a bit. They get to enjoy different days in every week. So that means in a month, they also get Saturday, Sunday, but it will be rotational. And with all the expansions happening to us, so in them in parallel, right now, we just signed an MOU yesterday, succeeded by a cooperation agreement to set up a base in Cairo, Egypt. I'm there next week. So next thing, we got few pool of talents, which we need to not to stretch them, but of course we need to develop more of them. Money and people, I would say, is the biggest challenge. Other than that, everything else is kacang putih.
When you talk about your journey, obviously it hasn't been easy, right? And you talk about your journey started all the way in 2008. So to keep you motivated and going, right? Was there anyone that you looked up to personally, or maybe someone who's inspired you? It could be someone in your family, around you, or maybe like an athlete or business person.
My motivation to work hard, to strive hard, this is a personal perseverance. I mean that coming from difficult background, going to college and getting an education is a key. And moving on from that, rather than just complaining that, oh, we don't get this, we don't get that, I think the key is hard work. I think that's personally I'm trying to work that even applies to myself as I grow in the business. I think this is where I want to highlight to the young ones. Your where you started it doesn't really matters, and it's a journey you go through. We fail, we learn, we fail, we learn, and we keep our motivation at one target. That's I want to revive the industry in Malaysian udang galah. That's where I started in 2008. I think that's where everybody have an ambition, but I think the experience after leaving college, working with somebody, understanding a simple organization structure, understanding how a business has to run, understanding of people's skill. I think there's a lot of skills need to be learned. That's why we go to university, we go to work, right? It's fundamental things to be learned. I think that's where I keep my aspiration going, learning and adapting and improving. Yeah.
This is the last question that I have for you. What are the aspirations and the vision for the company moving forward?
The vision for us, everybody should be able to enjoy udang galah in Malaysia. That comes at affordable price and availability. So that's only can be achieved when we scale the 300 metric ton to 3,000 metric ton. That is, we are looking at easily about 1,000 acres of farmland to cumulatively to achieve the 3,000 metric ton of udang galah for Malaysia market. So of course, moving on from that, of course, we are looking at international expansions and probably adding in other species as we go forward. But currently, this is our discipline. This is our focus. To achieve the 3,000 metric ton is our the vision of the company.
Thank you, Giva, for sharing that. All right. So that is actually the end of that particular section. So that is the end of the questions that I had. This next section, we are just going to do a very quick round of what we call rapid fire questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask you to choose between this or that. And you just let us know, whatever comes to your mind first. Sound good?
All right.
Okay.
All right. Sounds okay.
All right, before we start, I would just like to remind you that there is no right or wrong answer here, and so no pressure.
Right. Cheers.
Okay, so first question, land or sea?
Land.
Microsoft or Google?
Google.
WhatsApp or Telegram?
WhatsApp.
Cookie Malaysia or international?
Malaysia.
Work from home or work from the office?
Work from office.
So that's all the 5 questions that I actually had. So thank you so much for playing along. I really hope you had some fun doing that. So before we end the session, I'm just going to let you close it up with a final message from GK Aqua and maybe a closing remark to your potential investors.
Yes, to all my beloved potential investors, supporting our business is actually directly supporting the entire ecosystem of the udang galah. I often tell to people that it's an economic development rather than just prawn farming, because the spin-off activities which could give rise from 300 metric ton to 3,000 metric ton is immense. Let it be merchandise, let it be restaurants at the roadside, pasar malam, entrepreneurs. You can just add on to the list. So supporting us as a technology-based company, we have a very huge responsibility to create a sustainable aquaculture supply chain for us all to enjoy udang galah. And also part of the excitement we offer that all these potential investors who reaches a minimum threshold investment level also enjoys subscription for our udang galah for 2 years. So please support us, and by supporting us, you are supporting a lot of farmers, and that will enable us to sustainably produce udang galah in Malaysia so that we don't have to depend on import so much. So with that, I think that's the only message I want to say, and I think food is important, and we need to cherish ourselves with good quality seafood. I think thanks.
All right, so thank you so much, Giva. Everybody, that was Giva from GK Aqua. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.